What if I told you that the true key to staying young after 50 isn't locked inside a pill, but embedded in your brain's daily habits? Here's a surprising fact. Recent research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging shows that the rate at which we age biologically, meaning how fast our body, brain, and cells deteriorate, is more influenced by behavior than genetics. That's right, less than 25% of longevity is dictated by DNA. The rest is driven by how we live, our habits, rhythms, mindset, and environment. This might sound empowering or daunting, but here's the truth backed by neuroscience. The brain is a dynamic organ. Even after age 50, it remains capable of neuroplasticity, the ability to adapt, rewire, and strengthen. This doesn't just apply to learning a language or picking up a new hobby. It applies to resilience, mood, mobility, muscle retention, focus, even skin and immune function. Aging is not just about wear and tear. It's also about signal and response. And your habits are the signal. But most people unknowingly send their body the wrong signals. Poor sleep timing, low movement variability, disrupted circadian rhythms, chronic low-grade stress, all of which accelerate aging from the inside out. That's where this video comes in. In this episode, we'll break down 6 golden habits that neuroscience shows can slow and, in some areas, reverse the physiological signs of aging after 50. Each habit is backed by research, made practical with clear tools, and aimed at reprogramming your body for youth and vitality. Not just in how you look, but in how you move, think, and recover. So whether you're 52 or 72, this is about giving your brain and body the cues it needs to stay young, naturally, intelligently, and sustainably. Let's dive in. Have you ever noticed how just one night of poor sleep makes your skin look dull, your mind feel foggy, and your body ache more than usual? There's a reason for that, and it starts with the sun. What's happening in your brain when you see morning sunlight is profound. Inside the hypothalamus sits your suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, the master circadian clock. This cluster of about 20,000 neurons regulates virtually every system in your body: hormones, digestion, cognition, immune function, and even gene expression. A 2021 study published in Nature Communications revealed that aging is accelerated when circadian rhythms are disrupted. Researchers found that people with irregular light exposure and poor sleep-wake timing had significantly more inflammation, lower cognitive performance, and increased risk of cardiovascular disease, regardless of age. In other words, the timing of your behaviors can make you age faster, even if your habits are healthy. So, what's the simple tool? Expose your eyes to natural sunlight within 30-60 minutes of waking. Here's what the research shows. Just 5-10 minutes of natural morning light, more if it's cloudy, helps set your circadian rhythm for the entire day. It suppresses melatonin, boosts cortisol in a healthy way, and signals to your brain it's time to be alert, focused, and energized. But the benefits don't stop there. Morning light exposure also enhances dopamine signaling. That's crucial, not just for motivation and drive, but for motor control, learning, and emotional regulation. A 2019 study from the University of Basel found that older adults who maintained consistent circadian cues had better working memory, faster reaction times, and lower incidence of depression. The protocol is simple. Get outside within the first hour after waking, even just a walk around the block, no sunglasses. Aim for 5 to 15 minutes depending on weather. If you wake before sunrise, flip on indoor lights and get natural light as soon as it rises. Pair this with consistent sleep and wake times, even on weekends. And here's something you may not know. Circadian rhythms also regulate collagen production and skin repair. A 2020 paper in Cell Reports found that skin cells regenerate most effectively at night, only if the circadian cycle is properly entrained. Miss the morning signal, and your nighttime repair mechanisms weaken. So this habit isn't just about feeling awake. It's about slowing biological aging across your brain, skin, hormones, and metabolism. Small action, massive returns. If you want to stay young after 50, one of the most powerful and underused tools is strength training. but not the kind that leaves you exhausted for hours. In fact, short bursts of heavy resistance may be the exact formula your brain and body need to reverse aging decline. So let's start with the science. After age 30, we lose about 3–8% of muscle mass per decade, a condition known as sarcopenia. But sarcopenia isn't just about losing strength. It directly affects metabolism, blood sugar control, bone density, and even cognition. A landmark study from Harvard published in JAMA Network Open in 2022 showed that maintaining muscular strength, especially leg strength, was one of the most predictive factors for longevity in older adults. Here's what the research shows. Resistance training doesn't just preserve muscle, it activates anti-aging pathways at the cellular level. A 2019 study in Cell Metabolism demonstrated that strength training increases the expression of genes involved in mitochondrial function and protein synthesis, even in adults over 65. So, what's the tool? Incorporate 2–3 brief strength training sessions per week focused on compound movements. We're talking 20–30 minutes using your own body weight or resistance like dumbbells, kettlebells, or resistance bands. Movements like squats, push-ups, deadlifts, and rows are enough to activate type 2 muscle fibers, the fast twitch fibers that decline fastest with age, but are most protective of metabolic health and injury resilience. Here's a sample weekly framework. Monday, full body strength training, 30 minutes. Thursday, upper body focus, 20–25 minutes. Saturday, upper body or circuit, optional, 20 minutes. What's happening in your brain when you do this? Strength training boosts brain-degrade neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a molecule essential for neuroplasticity. BDNF is often called fertilizer for the brain. It supports memory, protects against cognitive decline, and enhances emotional regulation. Studies from the University of British Columbia show that resistance training can significantly improve executive function and reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in older adults. And here's the best part. It doesn't take much. Just 2 sessions a week of resistance training at moderate to high intensity has been shown to reverse muscle loss, improve insulin sensitivity, and increase testosterone and growth hormone levels naturally. If this insight is helping you so far, consider subscribing because we're just getting started. There are more practical tools ahead, and I'd love for you to be part of this growing community focused on science-based living for a longer, stronger life. Fasting has become a buzzword in health circles, and for good reason. But the science reveals a critical nuance. How and when you fast matters more than just skipping breakfast or following trendy windows. What's happening in your body during fasting is an elegant biological dance between 2 major pathways, mTOR, which promotes growth, muscle building, and repair, and autophagy, which breaks down damaged cells and proteins. Think of it like a switch between build mode and cleanup mode. Both are essential, but as we age, this balance becomes harder to maintain. After age 50, we often face 2 competing challenges. We need autophagy to clear damaged cells and reduce inflammation, but we also need mTOR to preserve muscle mass and strength, especially with age, sarcopenia in play. So how do we use fasting to support longevity without sacrificing muscle or hormonal health? Here's what the research shows. According to a 2016 study published in Cell Metabolism, time-restricted eating, where food is consumed within a daily 8–10 hour window, improves insulin sensitivity, lowers inflammation, and enhances autophagy without reducing calorie intake. And for older adults, that distinction is vital. Calorie restriction can sometimes backfire by leading to nutrient deficiencies or muscle loss, but timing your food, even while eating enough, can trigger longevity benefits. Here's the protocol to apply. Eat within a consistent 8–10 hour window, ideally starting around 8–10 a.m. and ending by 6–7 p.m. Avoid eating late at night, as nighttime feeding disrupts circadian alignment and increases fat storage and inflammation. On resistance training days, break your fast shortly after training with protein to support mTOR and recovery. On non-training days, Extend your fasting window slightly to boost autophagy. And here's an empowering insight. Even a 12-hour fast, say 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., has been shown to benefit mitochondrial health and lower blood pressure, especially in older adults. You don't need extreme measures. A real example, one study from the Salk Institute found that mice given the same number of calories, but restricted to an early feeding window, had lower cholesterol, better blood sugar regulation, and reduced markers of aging compared to mice eating throughout the day. And human studies are showing similar results. What's happening in your brain when you fast correctly? You increase ketone production, molecules that serve as clean burning fuel for neurons, enhance focus, and reduce oxidative stress. You also reduce neuroinflammation, a key driver of memory decline, brain fog, and even mood disorders. So fasting isn't about deprivation, it's about strategic timing. A simple shift in when you eat can send a powerful signal to your body. It's time to heal, clean house, and restore youth from the inside. We often hear, you are what you eat. But neuroscience tells us something even more powerful. You feel how you fuel. Especially after 50, the foods you eat don't just impact your waistline, they shape your brain chemistry, mood regulation, cognitive sharpness, and even your motivation to move and connect. Let's start with a core principle from nutritional neuroscience. Your brain is about 2% of your body weight, but it uses over 20% of your body's energy, primarily in the form of glucose and fatty acids. But here's the kicker. After age 50, your brain's ability to efficiently metabolize energy begins to decline. This means poor food choices don't just affect your gut, they directly impair your mental performance, mood, and resilience. So what does the science say your brain actually craves? 1. Omega-3 fats, especially DHA. Studies like the 2014 Framingham Offspring study show that higher levels of DHA are associated with larger brain volume and better memory in older adults. DHA supports the structure of neuron membranes, improves synaptic function, and reduces neuroinflammation. 2. Tyrosine-rich proteins like turkey, eggs, yogurt, and cottage cheese fuel motivation, drive, and mood regulation. As dopamine naturally declines with age, replenishing these raw materials becomes crucial. 3. Polyphenols found in berries, dark chocolate, olive oil, and green tea. These plant compounds protect the brain from oxidative stress and support BDNF, the growth factor essential for neuroplasticity and learning. A 2020 paper in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that higher polyphenol intake was correlated with lower dementia risk and improved working memory. 4. Magnesium and B vitamins, essential for neurotransmitter production and energy metabolism. These are often depleted in older adults, especially if stress levels are high or digestion is compromised. Here's a practical protocol to follow. Build your plate around protein first. Aim for 30-40 grams of protein per meal, spaced throughout the day. Add omega-3 fats daily from fatty fish like salmon or sardines, or from algae-based DHA if you're plant-based. Include 1-2 cups of deeply colored vegetables or berries in at least 2 meals per day. Drink green tea mid-morning or early afternoon for catechins that support brain health and gentle alertness without overstimulation. What's happening in your brain when you do this? You're literally enhancing the architecture of your neurons, fortifying the fatty sheaths that insulate your brain's wiring, increasing the flexibility of cell membranes, and boosting the signaling chemicals that regulate thought, emotion, and energy. And here's something you might find empowering. Research from the University of Illinois shows that dietary patterns rich in flavonoids and healthy fats can slow cognitive decline by up to 30% over a decade, independent of exercise or education level. So the message is simple: feed your brain like it matters, because it does. And if this video is sparking insights you can use, consider liking and subscribing. We go deep into tools like this every week, and I'd love for you to be part of the community we're building. If there's one invisible force that accelerates aging more than anything else, it's chronic inflammation. We're not talking about the kind of inflammation you get from a bruise or cut. That's acute, and it heals. What we're talking about is low-grade, persistent inflammation that simmers silently beneath the surface, disrupting your immune system, accelerating joint degeneration, fogging your brain, and even aging your skin. This phenomenon is now widely referred to in the scientific community as inflaging. A landmark study published in Nature Reviews Immunology showed that chronic inflammation is a central driver of nearly every age disease: cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, arthritis, even certain cancers. It's also one of the biggest contributors to fatigue, poor recovery, and emotional reactivity in midlife and beyond. But here's the good news. You don't need medication to fight it. You need nervous system balance. Because inflammation isn't just about the immune system, it's tightly regulated by your autonomic nervous system, especially the vagus nerve. When your body is in constant fight or flight mode, pro-inflammatory cytokines flood your system. But when you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest side, inflammation drops. So how do you cool inflammation daily in a natural, neuroscience-backed way? Here are 3 simple daily tools. 1, slow nasal breathing, especially 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. This activates the vagus nerve and reduces cortisol. Just 3-4 rounds can lower inflammatory markers like IL-6 and CRP, according to a 2017 study from the Medical University of South Carolina. 2, cold exposure. Brief and safe seconds of cold water on your face or upper neck can activate the parasympathetic system. Research from Dr. Rhonda Patrick and the Journal of Neuroimmunology shows that cold exposure reduces inflammatory signaling and improves immune resilience, especially in adults over 50. 3, nature contact and green space. Just 20 minutes in a park, forest, or garden, even walking with no phone, has been shown to lower cortisol, reduce heart rate variability, and suppress inflammatory cytokines. A 2019 study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that green exposure improves immune markers even more than indoor relaxation. What's happening in your brain when you do these things? You're engaging your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for executive function, emotional regulation, and impulse control, while simultaneously downregulating your amygdala, the fear and threat detection center. This combination improves your ability to think clearly, recover faster, and maintain emotional balance, all of which support a youthful, resilient internal state. So rather than adding something complicated, think of this habit as a daily cool down for your nervous system. Just 5-15 minutes of intentional recovery per day can reverse the internal signals that lead to premature aging. You don't have to fight inflammation, you just have to stop fueling it. And calm is your best medicine. There's a powerful truth we often overlook in the science of longevity. Your relationships may be more important than your diet, your exercise, or even your genetics. Let that sink in. According to the Harvard Study of Adult Development, the longest running study on human well-being in history, the single strongest predictor of health and happiness into old age was not cholesterol, income, or IQ. It was the quality of close relationships. Not the number of friends on social media, not whether you're married or not, but the depth of real, meaningful connection. What's happening in your brain when you experience genuine connection, a heartfelt conversation, eye contact, shared laughter, or physical touch, is biochemically profound. You release oxytocin, a neuropeptide that reduces cortisol, lowers inflammation, and strengthens the parasympathetic nervous system. You also boost dopamine and serotonin, which improve motivation, mood regulation, and learning. On the flip side, social isolation and loneliness, even when you're physically around people, act as a biological stressor. A 2015 meta-analysis published in Perspectives on Psychological Science showed that loneliness increases mortality risk by 26%, rivaling smoking and obesity. Loneliness literally reshapes the brain's threat centers, sensitizing the amygdala and weakening immune defenses. That's why people without strong social ties have higher rates of inflammation, cognitive decline, and depression, especially after 50. So, what's the tool? Prioritize intentional, in-person connection, not as a luxury, but as a daily health protocol. Here are some neuroscience-informed ways to apply this. Engage in face-to-face interaction at least 3-4 times per week. Even 10 minutes of eye contact and shared presence improves oxytocin signaling and vagal tone. Make touch part of your routine. Hugs, handshakes, and gentle physical contact, when safe and welcome, lower heart rate and calm the nervous system. Listen deeply. When you're fully present with someone, no phone, no multitasking, you synchronize brainwaves, a phenomenon called neural resonance, which fosters empathy and trust. Even pets can help. Stroking a dog or cat can increase oxytocin and reduce cortisol, mimicking many of the same effects of human connection. And here's an empowering insight. Connection is not a personality trait. It's a skill. You can train your capacity to bond, to open, to listen. And the reward isn't just emotional, it's physiological. It shows up in your immune system, your blood pressure, your sleep, your brain, in a very real, measurable way. Connection keeps you alive. So as you build these golden habits, syncing your rhythm, training your strength, feeding your brain, don't forget the most human protocol of all. Be with people who make you feel seen, safe, and supported. We often think of aging as a slow, inevitable decline, but neuroscience, behavioral science, and epigenetics tell a more hopeful story. How we age is deeply influenced by how we live. Your brain is plastic, your body is responsive, and even after 50, 60, or 70, it's not too late to send it the right signals. Signals that say grow, strengthen, rewire, heal. Let's briefly recap the 6 golden, science-backed habits you now have at your fingertips. Sync your body with the sun to anchor your circadian rhythm and fuel everything from mood to skin repair. Lift heavy, but not for long, triggering anti-aging genes and restoring muscle and cognitive strength. Fast, but time it right to balance autophagy and muscle-preserving pathways like mTOR. Feed your brain what it craves, omega-3s, polyphenols, proteins, and micronutrients that support neuroplasticity and energy. Cool your inflammation daily through breath, cold, and nature. Resetting your nervous system and protecting your cells. Connect to stay alive by building relationships that feed your biology, not just your emotions. These aren't trends, they're tools, rooted in research, refined by physiology, and ready for you to start using, one small step at a time. And here's the key idea. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Change doesn't require intensity. It requires consistency. Choose just one of these habits and try it today. Maybe it's getting sunlight within 30 minutes of waking. Maybe it's a 20-minute strength workout or a phone-free walk with someone you care about. These are the small hinges that swing the biggest doors. And remember, staying young isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding vitality to those years, mental clarity, emotional balance, physical power, and a sense of connected purpose. These are the real markers of youth, and they're within reach. So if this message spoke to you, I invite you to like this video, subscribe, and join this community. We're here to grow together with science, with intention, and with heart. Drop a comment below. Which one of these habits will you start today? What's helped you stay youthful in mind and body? I'm excited to hear from you and to keep showing up with tools that serve your life. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and remember, you are never